history, certain events have shaped our world in ways that go far beyond their immediate impact. November 22nd, 1963. September 11th, 2001. March 2020. Each moment marked not just by tragedy, but by the questions that followed. The Warren Commission, the 9/11 Commission, emergency powers that became permanent. From Dallas to New York to global lockdowns, patterns emerge for those willing to look. The same institutions, the same responses, the same consolidation of power. Recent events continue this trajectory. Butler, Pennsylvania, Manhattan's streets, each incident followed by familiar narratives, familiar solutions. Meanwhile, in boardrooms from Davos to Bilderberg, the world's most powerful gather behind closed doors. Central banks coordinate policy. Intelligence agencies share resources. Global forums set agendas that nations follow. The World Economic Forum speaks of stakeholder capitalism. The Bilderberg Group meets in secrecy. Ancient orders maintain their influence. Some call it conspiracy, others call it coordination. But the connections are there, documented and undeniable. The question isn't whether these networks exist, it's whether we're brave enough to acknowledge their influence on the world we inhabit. The dots are there. We just have to be willing to connect them.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome and welcome back. I see some very familiar names in the chat. Thank you guys for coming back for the late night. It could get ugly, everybody. It could get ugly. Thank you all for joining us earlier with the Custody Queens and Ron. That's already been a very successful stream already. It's probably gotten the most views that I've gotten so far. So I wanted to thank everybody for their support. I really appreciate it. And please like and subscribe. Of course, make sure your notifications are turned on. And tonight, we're going to get into a variety of things like we typically do on the late night streams. And you never know where it could go. They tend to be very interesting. So let's see, who do we have in the chat? I see Splendid Melancholy. What's up? Thank you for coming back. Shawley. I enjoyed your call in on Birdie. Jeff H is here. What's up, Jeff H? Jeff H is a guitarist. I know that much. Let's see. Wow, I'm seeing some familiar names that I recognize. What's up, Grace Kirk? Thank you. That was fun. Those guys are awesome. You got to subscribe if you're not subscribed to the Custody Queens Off the Clock with Ron. Those guys are not only, like I said earlier, smart, knowledgeable, and funny, they're also super cool. And they've supported me. And they've been awesome to me. And I've been on their show a few times, so I appreciate it. All right. Wow. Got some. My handler is in the house. Philly Special. Lynn Mai, good to see you. Right on. Pippa. Miscus 5774. Hello. Good to see you. Mallory is back. Let's go, Pack. Let's fucking go. Good to see you, Mallory. Well, thank you, Shawley. You're very kind. And it's just Kara. Happy Friday. It's good to see you. E-Potty, my man, is in the house. You never know what can happen on these late night streams. We got a lobby to get the Birdman on one of these nights. Kim Mulder, 369. Right on. Welcome. Good to see you. Your first live. Awesome. Pop and Switch. What's up? Good to see you. Yeah. All right. You never know who could pop into these late night lives. But I appreciate all of you. It's always fun on these. What's up? $90 bear. $90 bear. Have you been listening to this channel? I've had several bear encounters in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Karen Bell, we know you. She's one of our researchers. Kim Mulder, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Kim. Right on. Philly girl, good to see you. Thank you, guys. All right. True Crime Unleashed, what up? Thanks for coming back. Look, Jeff H, man, he's entitled. I've always said it. I could debate with anybody if they disagree with me, as long as they're willing to debate logically. We welcome different opinions here. Honestly, I don't care if people agree with me or not. It doesn't bother me at all. Critter 1113, go Birds. Brandon Rudder, what's up, dude? Lulu, we can talk more about the Bears. I had a good one, close encounter with the bear, but luckily I was in my car. Kiss me where I pee. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. All right. So since you guys, most of you are all coming off of Birdie's stream, I listened to all that stuff. I started it a little bit late, and so I had to sort of rewind it and then fast forward it. And there were some interesting discussions on there. And I'll start it off, since we're all coming off of a lot of you listening to Birdie's stream and listening to the Idaho 4 stuff. Sorry I'm late. I got coffee. I just had a cup of coffee a little while ago. It was well deserved, well earned, and I needed it. I've been running around all day nonstop. So, all right. A quick thing about the Idaho 4, and then I see people asking about the bear encounters. My take on the Idaho 4 is that I've said many times, I can't for certain tell you which version of my theory is the most plausible, but the few aspects that I'm very confident in are that something happened. We were not told the truth about what happened. That I'm personally confident in, and this is just my theory. They needed to run cover to contain the true story of what happened for many reasons. Blowback, depending on how you look at it, who was involved in operations in the area prior, during, and excuse me, the university. There's a big financial stake with universities. And if students don't go back to school, or people drop out, or parents decide not to send their kids to that school, that's big money lost. And that goes up the chain. This is what I've been trying to explain to people all for this whole time. That connects to the bigger thing, which is the banking industry. This is a fact. And so I believe that there were already research related things happening in that area, which there was, and that was BK's role was through his connections to that. Now, I have a few different theories about what I believe likely actually happened, which I don't always talk about in detail simply because I can't talk about a certain more far-flung theory unless I can logically explain it to people. And if you understand the way that I think and the things that I speak about, you'll understand why I connect it to bigger things. I don't do that with every case. Bellamisha, what's up? Good to see you. It's always good to listen to you on Birdie's channel. And I see some other familiar faces in here. Let's just say hello. Let's see. I saw somebody that slipped past me in the chat. Oh, there, Green Eclectic Mama. Good to see you. So that's just the baseline that I'm operating from. I'm not afraid to talk these theories over with people. It's just to say them on the live streams. You have to be careful because there's a lot of peripheral things that, you have to be careful. And I try to keep it contained to things that we've seen evidence that implies other things happening in the area. Lovely me, what's up, buddy? And so as far as the bear thing, I live in Colorado in the mountains. And we had a drought for a good part of the summer. I know I mentioned this earlier in the earlier stream. And when that happens, the food sources for bears in the higher elevations up in the mountains further up dries up and their water sources dry up. So they start to come into populated areas to try to find food because in another month or so, month and a half, they're going to have to start preparing for hibernation. And this is a common thing around here. And so we've had a lot of bear activity in the area. And I encountered one right 100 feet from my garage a week or so ago when I was on the phone with my handler and literally pulled up on a pretty big black bear going into the dumpster area. And I got pictures of him walking away, and he was big because you could see him next to cars and that you get a perspective on how big they are. I saw at least in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, I've seen in person out roaming around basically like 5 or 6 bears. One even bigger one than the one I had my close encounter with. Huge black bear during the day. Yeah, well, Mallory, I don't know if you saw Birdie and I's bear episode. It was pretty funny, actually. People were going back and forth. What is that? What is that? And I was like, that's a bear, man. I'm telling you, that's a bear. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of bears in the Northeast. It's kind of crazy because the bears are they look different depending on what region they're in. Like in the Northeast, the black bears have like a longer head that goes into their snout. The black bears here are bigger and they have a big fat head. And Philly saw the picture, close-up picture I got of that bear. And it was a big boy, man. That was a big boy. I do bear with them as much as possible, man. You don't want to get in the warpath of a mama bear with her cubs or a bear that is hungry because they're ready to hibernate or a bear that's just come out of hibernation. Splendid melancholy. Right on. Yeah, that was kind of a funny episode because they paid $90 for that video, and I was saying, I think it might have been 2 bears, so $45 a bear. A duck on Quack, I see you. I mean, if I was, like, up in the mountains, mountain biking or something, I don't do a lot of hiking. I would either have bear spray or a firearm with me. I wouldn't just go by myself out into the woods. There's mountain lions here too. That's even scarier in some ways because they stalk you and they're very stealth. Bears are just like goofy and they're just kind of walking around doing their thing. And so the problem is with what's happening here now is they're desperate. You don't see that many bears in such a short amount of time in a populated area unless they're desperate. So that means they're going to be more brazen. And if they have encounters with humans, they can sometimes associate humans with food. You can have issues that arise, potential bear attacks. But in addition, if they are in populated areas too much, then they sometimes have to kill the bears. So it's kind of, you know, it's sad. I feel for them. Best of me, what's up? It was a new neighborhood, so I guess they tagged him or brought him somewhere else. I'm not sure, but we've seen Florida panther twice run really fast through our backyard. I'm trying to. I must have missed your first part. Oh, there it is. Major ones. We have a ton of birds because they feed the birds nectar and also bird feed. My dad spins. I don't even know how much at the tractor supply store on. Oh, spends. Okay, I gotcha. For bird seed and all kinds of stuff. See, bears will any source of food they can find. If you have a bird feeder, if you have garbage cans that aren't locked, if you leave your trash bags outside of a metal closed dumpster, things like that, bears they smell it a mile away. So anyway, that was my recent series of bear encounters. I'll be honest, I've never encountered one out in the woods, like mountain biking or hiking, um, that I saw. I've never seen a mountain lion up close either, and mountain lions are really scary because there's some big ones out here, but they're more stealth. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some mountain lion activity. Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. All right. You know, we don't have grizzly bears in Colorado, thankfully. They have them in Montana and they have them up in Canada. I think maybe some in Wyoming. Humans are scary. Yeah, humans are the scariest animal for sure. Belamisha says no bears in Oklahoma, plenty of snakes and possums. I mean, it's crazy when you hear about, like, for example, Australia, right? The wildlife they have there. You go to places like Arizona, you go to Florida, you have scorpions. Arizona, you have scorpions. Snakes, you have, in the desert areas, you have rattlesnakes. We have coyotes here also. Foxes are everywhere. Coyotes are pretty stealth. And generally, you don't have to worry. Yeah, we have moose here. I saw a moose running down the street last week. I've had many encounters with moose up close, pictures like them walking right in front of me when I was in my car or whatnot. But think about this. I told this story to Philly Special and she didn't believe me. I was on my way to Vegas one time and with a couple of friends, we stopped in St. George, Utah on the way. to get some food and take a break from driving. And I'm looking out the window of this diner and I see, which I'd never seen in person, a roadrunner. Have you guys ever seen a roadrunner? He literally went meep meep. He ran across the street and it was a trip. You got armadillos in certain desert areas down in Texas, and they might have them out in Arizona too. You see some pretty wild animals, man, in different parts of the country. Yeah, us humans are a problem. There's bobcats here too, Bellamisha. We have coyotes here, and I saw a bobcat. I was driving home. This is maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And there's lynx and there's bobcats. And I can't remember, maybe someone in the chat can fill me in on this because I can't recall off the top of my head. One of them has a stubby tail, a little stubby little tail, and I think that's a bobcat. And I saw one, he walked right in front of me, walked across the road, and, then he kinda chilled for a second on the side of the road and disappeared. And the thing with, like, bobcats is what you really have to worry about with them is, like, household pets, because 'cause they're not huge. They're not giant cats, like a mountain lion can get really big. Bobcats are not as big, but they would be a threat to small animals, dogs, cats, etcetera. Yeah, the lynx have pointier ears, little real fluffy faces. I can't remember if anybody knows in the chat which between a lynx and a bobcat, which has the real stubby tail? They might, Brandon, they might. Here's the thing about wild cats. They they basically evolve over time, and their survival depends on having traits that are adaptive to survival. And if think about it, if you're an animal that sometimes might have to run away from other animals, it would probably benefit you to have a little stubby tail. And mountain lions are bigger, so they probably don't have as many predators, but smaller animals do. It's just the laws of nature, right? I saw Wile E. Coyote, man. I was really excited about that. A roadrunner. We looked it up. Remember, Philly? I think I sent you a video. It's got like a oval body. It's got a longer head and little stick legs, and they literally run like this, super fast. I think you Kiss Me Where I Peace talking about the Bobcat Lynx thing. I'm not sure, I just don't remember. Foxy Rose, welcome. Good to see you. Me. I'm drinking. Cheers. I don't have, alcohol at home often, but tonight I was like, "It's time. It's time." I'll try not to gulp right into the microphone. I've never seen a Tasmanian devil in person, but I've seen many videos of them, and they are whew. Can you imagine encountering one of them in the wild? What's even crazier than a Tasmanian devil is a Tasmanian tiger. It looks like a cross between a dog and a tiger of some kind. Yeah, I'm a coffee drinker. I don't have anything against tea. I'll drink tea occasionally, but I'm more of a coffee drinker. Let's see. Like, if you guys ever wanna see a crazy video, the reason why I don't usually try to post, like, YouTube clips and stuff on the channel is because I don't wanna crash the stream. I've had a few instances where when I tried to share a tab or something and I had some issues with, StreamYard, so but check out this video, you can find it, it's black and white, of a Tasmanian tiger in captivity. They may be extinct. If they're not extinct, they're almost extinct, but extremely rare. It's, oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, of course, Mallory. I mean, who's not at this point? JFK conspiracy person. I've dove into that over the years, a lot of different things. A fair amount with that one. JJ, you gotta share some wild stuff with us. Like what? Like what? Kind of wild stuff? You guys have to prompt me. Oh, I saw e we're gonna break out the peach bellinis. You should please join me. Potty, I've seen some of the most hilarious videos about men fighting kangaroos or getting attacked by kangaroos. They're tough sons of bitches, man. Huff some paint, whatever pick your poison, everybody. If it's tea, if it's coffee, if it's wine, if it's vodka, if it's paint huffing, whatever you got. No, yeah, I know. Well, I know what teetotaling means more or less. Um, I I don't drink alcohol as much anymore. I used to go out more and have some drinks and stuff. I The only time I usually ever drink alcohol is when I'm playing gigs because I drink for free and it's relaxing. I have a couple of glasses of wine when I'm playing. Which documentary, Philly? Oh, okay. So that's what you're talking about. I watched some of it. I did watch some of it. I'm trying to get away from streaming platforms as much as possible, and I keep them to a minimum because there's so many of them, so many different platforms, and it does get expensive if you have a million different platforms and so on. So, look, I wanna call back. You guys we can all share stories on here. I mean, that's what these late night streams are for. So, I'm down with telling some crazy stories. If I don't get into it tonight, I definitely will on another stream. Because I may have told the story before. I can't remember. Do you guys remember if I ever told on stream that when I met Dave Chappelle, when I encountered Dave Chappelle in New York City? I can't remember if I ever told it on a live stream. What is my handler stirring up right now? I think we're all poisoning our heads with the content we consume on some level or another. Um, Best of me, what's up? Can you tell us a secret and not just tell us your source? Like, give me an example what you're referring to, because my handler might not allow that. We're all about crazy stories here, Bellamisha. We got to get you on stage to tell that story, Bellamisha. I'm down with serial killer stories. Just so you guys know, for those who may not have heard me speak about it, the way that I even brushed up against true crime stuff is I studied forensic psychology, and then years and years ago, I dove into a lot of profiling books that were written by profilers, and more of the sort of profiling and psychology end of it. I definitely was into that stuff. I've consumed many, many books about serial killers, and I'm very interested in that topic because there's a deep psychological element to all of that, which is what I study. One of the things I studied. Okay. I'll just quickly, I did get into it in the beginning of the stream, but I'll do a quick synopsis. Number one, I'll try to consolidate it and break it down as simple and concise as possible. We got Shawley backstage, so we're going to bring Shawley up in a minute. I believe we were lied to about what happened that night. I don't believe we have been told the truth about the actual events that played out in the house. I'm very confident in this. And this is from all of the information we've seen. The overarching reason that I think there was an operation involved is that I don't believe you have that much coordination, both with regards to the mainstream media, all of the law enforcement, and that no forensic expert even addressed the fact that Brian Koberger does not have a history of violence. He was not connected to any other violent crimes. So we got Bellamisha backstage too. So what I'll do is I'll bring you guys up one at a time. First, I'll bring Shawley up, and then I'll let her get into something. Then I'll bring Bellamisha up. So let's get into it. We can talk about this very thing, best of me, and it'll probably inform you a little more about what I'm saying. What's up, Shawley?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a good day. I got a promotion at work, which is always nice.
Awesome.
And
Congratulations.
thanking you. And yeah, it's been a good day all round.
It was kind of I don't want to say funny, maybe funny in a dark way, that right after Jane came up and was apparently talking about how she
Yeah.
doesn't have a job, you you jumped up and were like, I got a promotion today.
I know it fell out because Birdie was like, "How are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, good." And then I suddenly remembered and was like, "Oh," felt really bad. Bless her. But
right.
it
So
wasn't intentional.
what do you got? What do you got? Give me something good.
What would you like?
Well, I did see your segment on Birdie
Yeah.
about that video.
Had you seen that video before?
No, I haven't. And it was very interesting, just especially because at first we didn't know who was in the video. That
I wanted to
definitely
be careful not to put it onto my, my video on my channel because I don't want to be accused of anything. I wasn't saying there was involvement there. I was just simply saying I found it an interesting video because when you look at the devices used in that video to fix a puncture,
right.
they look like they could be the same kind of devices, not necessarily those exact ones, obviously, but they do look like they could have been used in the commission of the crime. And then you add on the layer of the silver sedan. Jack Decor mentioned a silver sedan in his interview. Mentioned that he didn't think that Eric Gower had picked the girls up. He thought they were picked up by someone in a silver sedan, and that's the car that was being worked on in that video. And the person who was working on the car happens to be Junior. And you start adding layer upon layer upon layer, and it starts to paint a picture, which is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I feel like in some ways the whole narrative we were told about the crime itself I have my reasons why there's many reasons why I don't believe we were told the truth. It's not one thing. It's the combination of many things. And it's very difficult in a live stream or whatever to explain why I think the way that I do, because it ties in with a lot of bigger things that are related to how narratives are shifted and shaped, and how propaganda is used for different reasons. So that's my take, is that I don't believe we were told the truth about it.
Absolutely
So
not. I think that's the only thing we know for sure, to be
well,
honest.
that's the thing. And that's why I have thrown around ideas off stream with people about what I believe were some possibilities of what happened. The main thing that I look at, and then I'm going to bring Bellamisha up shortly, is look at how there are many scenarios that they would want to be covered up. So for different reasons, for financial reasons, for blowback reasons. And so I think, and the 4 hours that the house was locked down, the whole, oh, I have somebody back at the station working on a theory early on. All of these things lead me to believe that they needed to present a narrative to the public that contained damaging information about what really happened. That's just my take. I just want to ask Bellamisha, you can signal me. Did you want to come up with your camera or just your voice? Because I don't know how to switch that. I think you would have to do it on your end.
Yeah, last time I was live with Bellamisha, she had her video on, but I don't know how, if she's still comfortable with that or.
Yeah. Thumbs up. You good with that, Bellamisha? Okay,
She's
cool. I'm
got
going
a
to bring
beautiful little dog.
Bellamisha. Bellamisha's coming on, guys. She's going to drop bombs. What's up, Bellamisha?
Hey, how are y'all doing? Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Bella. Long time no speak in person.
I know. I had to take Judge. I had to take some time off from this case because of my mental health.
I'm with you.
Because I literally I have been on this since day one. Since the day that they put it out that for 8 hours there were 2 girls in that building and did not call help.
Yeah.
And me and my wife, we sat there watching it, and I said, "There's no way in hell that they did not hear anything in that house." Because the house that we lived in before we moved to Oklahoma was a 2-story house. We could hear everything. We had some people that come to stay with us, and we put them on the 2nd floor. And I mean, we could hear everything. We could hear when they sneezed. We could hear when they walked across the floor. And it was a nice 2-story house. It wasn't just something that was shabbily built. It was like really nice.
Yeah.
And so I just knew that there was something going on. And I will always believe, and when I talk about Dylan, I talk to Dylan. So Dylan, I know for a fact that you are involved, that you have been involved since day one, and you weren't afraid. You weren't in frozen shock. You weren't drunk. You weren't scared when you ran down to Bethany's room, if you even did that, because I believe, Dylan, that you were a part of these murders, and then you were a part of the cleanup. Because I feel like there's no way that I could be in a house and 4 people could be murdered, and I could be in there for 8 hours and not know something was wrong. I was a victim of a horrific crime myself. And so I take these things that are said very seriously. That's why I had to take some time off, because I've met some really weird people because of this. I met a girl who swore up and down that she was in complete contact with Brian Kohlberger, and she was sending him this, and she had paid for his tablet. First of all, nobody paid for his tablet, because Idaho gives every one of their inmates in prison a tablet to use, because that's their way for communication. to
Right.
their families, to the courts, to everything. And I just was so overwhelmed with the things that was going on. I took a whole, probably almost 2 months off,
It was a
took a
while.
step back. It was a while. Took a step back, but it just kept calling to me. Like I would say, I'm not going to watch Birdie tonight. I'm not. Because if I watch Birdie, then it's going to bring out the inner, can I say how I feel? The inner bitch in
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah. Say
Yes,
whatever you
I knew
want.
it was going to bring out the inner bitch in me. And then finally, one day, I just said, I can't take it anymore. And my wife, T, she said, well, get back on. When you fall off the horse, what do? Jump back on it. She said, jump back on that bird. And so I emailed him and told him, and then I was on the show, but I'm not on it as much. And it's not because of anything that the show did, because the show's incredible. Birdie's incredible. I have a lot of respect for Birdie. He's about my son's age, and I feel like he's a very smart and intelligent man. And I think that he's really got the opportunity to go places that a lot of creators have not been. And I hope that he does. And I love watching your show. I love it when you're on, Birdie. Also, I love seeing y'all together, JJ, because you're great. A lot of the things that you talk about, I feel. And then a lot of things I feel that people are going overboard with the whole thing. Like, I know that there is conspiracy stuff out there that's true, that's not a conspiracy, that it's a truth. But I honestly feel like this case is more, it's more, or how can I put this? I don't think that that there was like, oh, they're covering up for this or they're covering up for that. I do believe that there was drugs going on in the town, in the college, because I'm from a college town, UT, Austin, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And in my young days, hey, I was out there in the drug scene, drinking, going to college, just doing everything. I owned a nightclub when I lived in Austin for 11 years. I mean, Austin was my home and I loved it. So I know Austin. So knowing how Austin is around the college, I imagine that most major colleges are just like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the college covered up this because of alumni's children that were attending that may be involved. And one thing a college will not do is insult their alumni, because that's where their big money comes, boosters.
Yeah.
And so, I will always feel like it was something that wasn't meant to be a murder, and then it was a murder, and it went too far, and so many people were involved. Because let me tell you something, there's a lot of people involved that know what happened.
Yep.
And nobody has ran to the police station and said, look, this is what happened. Because they all are friends, they all covered for each other, and they're all wealthy, or their parents are wealthy. And I believe that the people that were involved in the murder are legacies, children of alumni, that their parents went there, now they're going there. And I believe that the college knew that if it got out that there were people that were going to school there that actually committed the murders, then they would lose money. So why did they pick Brian Kohlberger? Well, first of all, he's not going to Idaho's college.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not a vandal. He's not going there. So that takes their people out. Now the whole college is a victim. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the people that were killed. This whole college now has been victimized by this monster across the state line. My biggest question will always be, what in the hell did Bethany know that was exculpatory that could get Brian Kohlberger out? And I see stuff all the time. People are all the time stating, oh, well, she saw somebody naked. No. Exculpatory evidence has something to do with just him that proves that he is. I have a law background, first of all. So exculpatory evidence is something that has something to do with Brian Kohlberger that can prove that he did not commit the murders. It completely erases any of his guilt because it's exculpatory evidence. And she has it. And she has enough of it that they motioned for her to come back to Moscow. And whatever the reason it is, she said, I'm not going back to Moscow. I'm
Bella, I
not
have a
going back.
question.
Yeah, I've spoken about that when I was on Devil's Advocates. Because I've been following this case since about 3 or 4 days after it happened, because I don't watch
Me
the
too.
mainstream media. So I didn't see it until I was on YouTube. And then I came across, just some clips and things about what happened. And then what got me interested was a big part of it was the 8-hour delay. And from
Yes.
day one, I have been saying that is just my theory, there were drugs involved. I've said that, I've maintained that to this
Yeah.
point, that because what I always say is I don't only look at what we're being told. I look at what are they steering away from? What narratives
Yes.
are they strategically and pretty obviously, if you pay attention, steering away from? And one of them has always been, there's two that come to mind. One is drugs, drug use, other type of drug activity in the area. That's one. The other one, I'm sure you'll all remember this. Remember how strategically they steered away from the OnlyFans thing?
Yep.
Yes.
They bent over backwards to squash that. And then in Chris Whitcomb's book, he pretty much straight up exposed and revealed that they did in fact have, some of the roommates had OnlyFans accounts. So,
But you know what, JJ? There's a lot of young girls on OnlyFans throughout
I
the
agree.
United States and outside. So even if they were to have came out and said, "Oh, Kaylee and Maddie was on OnlyFans," I wouldn't have been shocked, and I wouldn't have said, "Oh, well, then they deserve to be murdered like that in the house." I mean, it's OnlyFans; they were on it. There's celebrities that are on it. I mean,
Sure.
it's
Just
just
to
another.
clarify though, the reason why I mentioned that, because I've also said the same thing. Tons of college age people are on OnlyFans, is because you would logically think, right? Thinking criminology, thinking forensic psychology, they would have been, let's just say, all right, a few of them had OnlyFans accounts. That would expose them to people that could have been outside of that area, people in the area, and so on, which could be a investigative thread that could be pulled. And so that was my angle of why would they want to steer away from that? Because maybe people out in the public, because remember early on, any tips anybody has, we want your assistance, right? And then they steered away from that. If they had just admitted that they had OnlyFans accounts, then there might have been some threads that could have been pulled. And so, to me, what I ask is, I can see, all right, they wouldn't want maybe certain things to come out, but to your point, what's the big deal? Tons of young people have OnlyFans accounts.
I have friends that have OnlyFans. I have upstanding community-based friends. 2 of them are mothers, and they would never ever expose their children to that, obviously, but they have them because it's, I wouldn't do it personally, but it's an easy way for them to make money, and they're not hurting anybody. And I seem to remember seeing an interview with Jack Decor where he was saying that somebody was offering him money for pictures of Kaylee when they were together. And that kind of lends credence to the whole, there was that kind of aspect, and there were undesirables that were involved with the girls as a result of that, and I don't hold that against the girls at all, you know. But what I was going to ask you, Bella, is you said about the exculpatory evidence and the fact that, exculpatory evidence is something about Brian. Would it possibly ever be something so say for example, this is just an example, say for example they had, you know, a picture or a video of someone else committing the crime that isn't about Brian, but would that count as exculpatory?
That would account as
Mhm.
exculpatory evidence. But this is the question then. How would Brian Kohlberger know that she had a picture?
Mhm.
This has got to be something, okay, because right now we have Santa who's saying after the plea, we have no direct link to the
Yeah.
victims and Brian Kohlberger. So if there's no direct link to the victims, then maybe there is a direct link to him and Bethany, because my theory is, and some people might think that this is not a popular theory, I don't believe that Brian Kohlberger is a murderer,
No.
but I believe that maybe he knew. Because let me tell you how easy it'd be for him to know Bethany. He could know Bethany because, first and foremost, the colleges are about 10 miles apart.
Mhm.
I'm sure that she's been over there to parties because they go back and forth. Okay. Also, Xana's sister went to the same college that Brian Kohlberger went to.
Mhm.
Okay. So those are actual, that is an actual link, but they
Yep.
don't use that. I think that she may have known him. She may have thought that, oh, this guy, I remember him. He's into this. Let's call and see what we can do. And maybe because, you know, she's pretty, he might have said, I'll come help.
Yeah.
By the time he got there, just like they lied to everyone else and said, oh, we have an unconscious person. What if they told him that? Oh, one of our roommates is unconscious and we need to clean up and everything because blah, 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 blah. And he gets over there and it's a murder.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been. It could have been. But on a real, if you think about it, 8 hours, I think it was longer because I think the murders happened closer to around 2:40 than they
Agreed.
did at 4. And I believe that during that whole time, there were people in there. They were cleaning. Okay. They didn't clean everything up. I believe the reason they didn't clean everything up is because there was specific things they were cleaning. I think
Mhm.
whoever did the murders probably was bleeding and got hurt, and they were cleaning up where he was or she was.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. They've got blood on a jacket that belonged to Dylan, the
Mhm.
jacket. Okay. They got blood on a blanket. Who did it belong to? Dylan.
Dylan.
They got blood on a bracelet. You know, so there's blood and this stuff is hidden because they didn't have time to get rid of it. So they hid it. Who hid it? Dylan hid it. Dylan, you hid the stuff and you didn't even do it right. And so that's why I feel like that those two girls were in that house and they were a part of at least a part of the cleanup and the cover up, at least, because there's no way I would bet my house on it. There's no way that they stayed in that house and did not hear people screaming for their lives.
Well, they could
Yeah.
hear them say, "There's someone here," and could hear
Right.
someone
Yeah.
apparently say, you know, "I'm here to help you," but they can't hear the screams that we can hear on the camera.
And did y'all hear what I told Bertie about that? I'm here to help you.
Mhm.
There is a YouTube channel. It's just night stories. I think his name is Nick at Night. It might be something else, but I believe it's Nick at Night. And when you turn him on, the first thing he says is, I'm here to help you. So
Yeah.
I went back prior to the murders to see if he was using that or if it was something that he picked up from the murders. He was using it prior.
Mhm.
So that's just so odd to me that he would say that, I'm here to help you, and then she comes up with something like that. Like, could she possibly be a subscriber to Nick at Night, listening to videos to go to sleep like I do, and put that in? And then there's people that say it was also in the Vampire
It
Diaries.
was,
I
yeah.
haven't found it yet, but I'm looking for it. Um, I just feel that they are really involved. And I feel, and this is going to sound ugly, but I don't care. I feel like if that had been a house of black students, men, and there had been 2 left over that was not killed, and they had told the police, we didn't hear nothing. We was in frozen shock. I ran downstairs to Leon's room. I don't know what happened. Then went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm saying that for a reason. I'm saying that because you look at Bethany and you look at Dylan and their cute little blondes. And so the whole world is just wanting to protect them little blondes. Oh, they're survivors. Honey, they are not survivors. Survivors are someone who's been attacked. I was raped by 2 men in my home, duct taped, and it was set on fire. And I hallucinated that my dead father dragged me to the front of the house and told me to breathe. I couldn't breathe. There was tape around my face, around my eyes. My hands was taped to my body. My legs was taped. This happened in 2015 in Wilmer, Texas. Okay. And I'm a survivor because not just because I got out of the house, because beautiful, wonderful fire department volunteers broke the door down. And probably that's why I hallucinated that it was my father. It was probably one of them that drugged me to the front. But this is the deal. I survived not only that, but afterwards. Afterwards, I survived
since.
Living every day, knowing what had happened to me, knowing that he was out there somewhere, because one of them got killed, but knowing that the other one was out there somewhere and he could show up at any time. And finally, they caught him. Finally.
Yeah.
And so that's what a survivor is. It's not someone who says, oh, I drank too much, but then her friends say she didn't drink anything. She said she didn't feel like it. It's not someone that says I was in frozen shock, but played on their phone, made Snapchats, took pictures.
Looked for jobs.
Looked for jobs. I mean, while your friend is in the other room screaming her lungs out because someone's stabbing her to death, you're on Indeed making a resume, sending it out for a job. And then the whole afterwards, when Hunter came, I think he's involved, because I'm going to tell you why I think Hunter's involved. All those people, every last one of them that was there that you see on the body camera, none of them showing any emotion.
Nope.
You see a little fake crying, but really they're standing around with little blankets on. Hunter, he's walking up and down. He's not crying, but this is his best friend. If my best friend was murdered like that, I would be inconsolable. Why didn't he say when he got on the phone, hey, the reason I'm on the phone is because my friend and his girlfriend is upstairs in puddles of blood. They're dead. We need somebody out here. We need help. Oh, no. Are they breathing? No. Very calm. No excitement. No, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. What is going on? None of that.
My
That's
biggest
why I
flag
feel
with,
like,
my biggest
Go
flag
ahead.
with Hunter has always been, he said that he took Xana's pulse, and yet there was no blood on him at all. So where did he take a pulse?
Well, he could have possibly touched her arm. It could have been outstretched. But why would he take her pulse and he sees her in a puddle of blood?
Well,
and she's been there. She's been there for 8 hours. So 8 hours being dead, you have lost your blood. So your skin's very light. Your lips are going to be blue.
Yep.
If your eyes are open, they're going to be fully dilated. You're going to know that person is dead.
Yeah, and if your eyes are open, they're going to be cloudy at that point as well.
Yes, you're going to know they're dead. He knew she was dead when he went up there, if he even went up there.
That's my thing. I don't think he did.
I don't follow any of the narrative. When people say, oh, so Dylan said, I don't Dylan is a liar. Okay.
Mhm.
She's a liar. I don't believe any of that happened. I don't believe she ran downstairs. I don't believe that she came out and they looked eye to eye, but she couldn't say on the interview, because they asked her, the policeman, he said, do you remember his eyes? She said, no. Do you remember what color his eyes was? She said in her own mouth, her own words, I don't remember anything about his eyes. So where did the bushy eyebrows come from?
Well, that didn't come until after the first conversation with the police, did it?
JJ?
You're muted, I think, JJ.
Oh,
Sorry,
what's
guys.
going on?
It's all right.
I just
Okay.
no, I just wanted to couple of things, and also I don't want to totally ignore the chat, but Bellamisha, we're glad you survived because you have given a lot, I'm sure, in your own personal life and certainly to the community here. So I just wanted to say that. And
Thank you.
I'm sorry that you went through that. I just wanted to say that. Of course, that's brave of you to share that. And I wanted to just say a couple things related to what you were talking about with the surviving roommates. I've been saying for a very long time, and anybody who goes back to when I was on Devil's Advocates, I said it many times. They were, in my opinion, were somehow involved in, to your point, Bellamisha, the cover-up aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that for anybody who's listened to me for any length of time has heard me say this. Maybe they were handed a narrative, because I've thrown that around, because I believe it happened earlier also, whatever happened. I believe also that they had a contact for that house. I believe it's in my opinion, it's very improbable that house, because it was all Greek life people, did not have a contact with somebody either through Greek life, like a liaison, or somebody with the university, because we all know that university had a lot of sway over the investigation.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
There's no question about that. And it would make logical sense. So in my opinion, I think that it doesn't matter what your theory is about what actually happened. Whatever happened, they were aware of it and they contacted somebody. And that is why we had the 8-hour delay, whether it was potentially because they had to remove certain things from the house, or they had to come up with a story to contain, as Bertie and I have both talked about a lot, but Bertie's really talked about it, contain things from getting out. In fact, Bertie just talked about this. Before it got out to everybody what happened, they needed a narrative to slow it down so they could contain it and get control of the situation. Because that's why in the very beginning, I wasn't going along with you can't criticize the survivors and so on and so forth. That story that we were all fed in the very beginning is so ridiculous, and it was proven to be ridiculous through documents and things that we all saw with body cam footage and so on and so forth. I can't even talk about it. It's so ridiculous. So I agree with you that they were, however it was shaped, like whatever the version of that was, because it could be in a bunch of different ways that they were used, or that they covered things up, whether it was given to them and they went along with it, or whatever that was. I believe that there was something that they were covering up. So that's my baseline when it comes to the surviving roommates. I can't even entertain people who have that perspective. Like, you can't criticize them. How is it even possible that their stories, now it's a rhetorical question because of my theory, that their story was not pressed and they were not considered suspicious, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't understand, like, especially after the gag order was pulled and everybody started getting the FOIAs, and we were seeing that nobody was asleep, that Dylan wasn't asleep, Bethany wasn't asleep. So they didn't sleep through it, you know. I just was like, I know that they had some. I mean, first of all, if I'm a murderer and I go in the house, say I'm Brian Koberger, and because that's who they say the murderer is, and I go into this house and I've just killed these 4 people, and I come face to face with another person that looks right in my eyes,
A witness.
and I know that they see me and I see them see me, okay? I'm gonna kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I? I've already killed 4 people. Why would I leave that one person that saw me and I saw them see me?
Yep.
We were just like right there. And I'm going to let you make it so you can go back and tell people what I look like. No, if I'm a murderer and I've just killed 4 people in that quick amount of time that they did on their narrative, then it's just going to take me 2 or 3 minutes to kill her and leave her laying on the floor. Because why would I leave a witness? Why? And that's what nobody ever says. Oh, well, she said maybe they were looking out. Why would a murderer look out for you? What's so special about you that wasn't special about Kaylee or Maddie or Xana or Ethan? Why would you be so special that the murderer would come face to face with you and say to himself, I'm going to let this one make it? That's bullshit.
JJ, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying not to gulp on the microphone. So, yeah, I never bought that narrative. And I have a few different theories about that, but I have an idea of what we can do since I got you guys on stage. My handler is going to post some comments and I want to get everybody's take, right? So whatever it is, we can give our perspective on what some of the comments and questions are, because I definitely want to involve the chat and whatnot. And I was very negligent in my Custody Queens interview with the chat. So Philly, if you want to throw some comments on stage, and Bellamisha and Shawley and myself, we can all sort of address the chat, right? Because that's what we're all here to do. Yeah. So in the meantime, yeah, I never bought the aspects of the official narrative.
No.
And
it's so good to hear someone say that.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it so many times. It's so ridiculous, in my opinion. It's just the way that I see it, that I can't even believe so many people believe the official narrative. Now, Lisa Otten 64, good to see you. Let me see if I know what you're referring to. I don't know. You guys might. JJ Dago came up with this. What do you think about Brian and Kaylee had a connection with IT? She was in town over the summer and started her internship in June of 22, same month Brian got there. Look, here's my thing. I have said, and I said it with the Custody Queens tonight, I have tried to be intellectually honest and come up with scenarios that would explain potentially how Koberger was connected to them, and that perhaps there was a reason why they did not want to let that come out to the public, right? Because you have to look at all the different things, right? If you're being a real researcher who looks at things scientifically, you have to be willing to look at all the scenarios. So there, in my opinion, it is possible that there were, my breakdown of it that I discussed with the Custody Queens and Ron was, is it possible that there were things being used, technologies being used, surveillance related technologies that they use to identify Brian that they don't want the public to know that they were using? Because the public is very sensitive now, as you guys all know, about the flock cameras and surveillance and everybody being, their data being harvested, all that stuff. So is it possible that there was a connection between him and the people in the house? Absolutely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, can I
I
tie that
agree
into
too.
everything and logically, because the way that I look at this case, every theory, whatever any one of our theories is, if I can't find logical ways to explain why they would cover that up, then I can't in good faith talk about that theory. But this one, I can talk about it because I can see a scenario where they don't want people to know how they came to Brian Koberger. Now, I don't think he was the one who committed these murders. I don't buy the official narrative at all.
No.
Straight up. But is it possible that he had a connection to someone in that house, and the way that they connected him to it, they don't want the public to know about it? In which case, they're lying to the public. And so they shouldn't be upset that we are all questioning the official story. We don't need anybody's permission to question things. And they
And
want
how
to
could
make
you
it
not?
seem like we need their permission.
Yeah. How could you not question the story? It's just
Completely.
preposterous to me.
Yeah.
I tell you, I feel like, like you said, I've investigated this. I've looked at different avenues. The only avenue that I found that to me was sensible, where they could find how he was connected to that house, is through Xana and her sister, because her sister did go to college there at the same college
Yeah.
with Brian Koberger. He could have saw her and become affixed with her, and then followed her around, and she went to see her sister, and then he said, "Oh my God, two of them," because they looked almost exactly alike. And
Mhm.
that could have brought him to that house if he were the murderer. But I don't believe he was the murderer.
No.
I don't. I sent Birdie a PowerPoint presentation that I made, JJ, and if you send me your email, I'll send it to you. My PowerPoint presentation is why I feel that the Moscow Police Department botched the investigation on purpose, because I do believe that they botched it on purpose. I do.
Yeah.
And I don't, in the PowerPoint presentation, it's very scientific. I took a lot of time. I had been literally investigating, looking. I mean, I've went down every rabbit hole. I did the psycho killer card game. Sholly, you remember that?
Yep. I've got it.
I went undercover because I'm in college. At my
Mhm.
age, I went back to college, and went through some different chat lines with Idaho's college from my college, trying to find out about the psycho killer. Did y'all ever play it? And as a matter of fact, they did have a psycho killer gaming group there up until 2023, and then they
Mhm.
just stopped. And the person told me the reason they stopped was because of the horrific murders there. They just didn't feel that they should continue playing a game like that with what had happened, which makes sense. And it may
It
not
does.
have anything to do with what happened. But when it was brought to Birdie, I went out and I investigate everything. Like when I talk to y'all, when I talk to Birdie, when I talk to anyone about this, it's not just something that just popped off the top of my head. I have went places online that I never thought I would go on, just trying to find the truth. I'm trying to do what their parents should be doing, and they're not. And it's sad to me because I'm a mother. I have 4 daughters, and if something happened to one of my daughters and they were murdered, no stone would go unturned. Nothing would stop me from finding who killed my child and me killing them. I would go to prison happily, because I would never let anyone get away with doing something to one of my children and I wouldn't be concerned. The lack of concern from the Chapins really just irks the hell out of me. And the Goncalveses, I feel like there's really something wrong there. I believe that they have been They sold out. They sold out to the medias. I believe they're being paid for all the different interviews from the mainstream media. And I just don't understand how you can sit there as a mother and know all the things that we know and not question it in your mind. There's got to be questions in Christy's mind. I mean, she may not voice them, but in her mind, if you know all the things that we know and you don't question it, there's really something wrong there.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And man, I try not to go too hard on certain things, not because I don't see them, but because Philly, go get your rooster off the roof, because there's certain things that I need to have. By the way, Bellamisha, if you go to the State of Deep Discord and message me, I'll give you a contact for that.
Okay, and I will send you out that so you can take a look at my theory of why the Moscow Police Department botched the case on purpose.
Yeah.
There's a reason. There is a reason, and in the PowerPoint, I give you a reason, and I give you all the things, because when I made the PowerPoint, I went to my chat GBT and I would ask it questions because I wanted to get like real answers. And I would ask, what would happen if this happened? And then they would give me like 5 or 6 different answers. And I'd be like, okay. And then sometimes they'd say, oh, that's not feasible. Okay, so that's not feasible. We're going to throw this out. But I found so many things that the Moscow Police Department actually did in covering up this crime. The shoddy interrogations, not having I have never been at a crime scene where people were bunched together and the police, and I've been at a crime scene.
Same.
And the police didn't say, okay, I need you over here, I need you over here, I need you over there. No, let's just put y'all together so y'all can get y'all story straight.
Yeah. You're instantly separated.
While y'all are getting y'all story straight, we're going to let Hunter hang on to that knife and walk behind us because we're not worried about him and a knife because guess what? We know that he's not going to do anything to us. I just don't understand, and if you read if you watch the PowerPoint, you'll understand. You'll understand exactly what I'm getting at. I don't know if I had to resend it to Bertie because he couldn't find it. I don't know if I'm going to be on the call-in tomorrow. If I am, I'm going to ask him to play it. But I may not be on the call-in because I'm having my house redone. And I'm going to have contractors here all day tomorrow. And they're so loud. I'm not even able to get on and talk to anyone.
Yeah, that's fair. And Mallory makes a really good point there about Kaylee's phone. The fact that they did extract the data from that phone and then they lied about that. JJ,
I was asking Bertie, I was like, didn't Olivia say on like 10,000 different media interviews that she got into Kaylee's phone? Yep. So if she could get into Kaylee's phone, why couldn't the police?
Yeah, well, they did. That's the thing, is they did. Lana covered it. She found documentation showing that they did get into it from day dot. They've always had.
But by the time they got into it, whatever was in it that Steve didn't want nobody to know about, they got rid of because they were able to get into the phone.
Yeah. You're muted, JJ.
I just feel like, and even though that he's gotten this new hearing, I don't know if a lot of y'all know this or not, but it won't be good for him to have a new trial. A new trial could get him the death penalty. The best thing that could happen, and I hope that his new attorneys will try to get it done, is have the case thrown out with prejudice so they can't retry him. Because they can bring in that video where Santa says, at this point, we don't have any connection. We tried, but we couldn't get a connection. Because if you didn't have a connection after the plea agreement, then you shouldn't be able to have a connection now. And so they can't bring in new stuff and say, oh, well, this happened back then. No, but you said you didn't have a connection back then. So I'm hoping that they'll throw out his case. Do I think they will? No. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think they're going to throw out his case. Because he is their poster boy for the murder. If they get rid of him, if they find him not guilty or whatever, then that means that they've got to put on their real sleuthing boots and they got to go out there and make a job of trying to find the real killers. And are they going to do that? No, because they're helping the real killers. Right now, the real killers could be watching this show, JJ.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, I just wanted to comment on this because Painted Desert, I apologize. I missed some of your comments that you had asked me. I'm just going to say it straight. As I said, I don't believe what we were told about what happened. Now, again, keep in mind that I am framing this from a different angle. I'm framing it from the zooming out and looking at how operations are conducted, which are theories that I did not create. It's all declassified. It's all things any one of us can look up. And I've done videos about this stuff, which is primarily what I've done videos about. I think anything is possible when you have evidence of a bigger picture and coordination that goes beyond the local level, which we have seen in this case all through it. We've seen coordination with the mainstream media. I've said it many times. In my opinion, I do not think a local agency or a local police force framing somebody has that much sophisticated coordination with the mainstream media and authors writing books before they even have a trial, giving their theories about this guy who was stalking Maddie and he was this lone incel and so on and so forth. I don't believe that you have that much coordination for a framing. We know people get framed. We know that happens. So that ties in with my theory. I have to be honest, and I'm going to say it here. I've said it before. I think the videos we saw of Brian Kohberger being pulled over and not getting a ticket, by the way, and look at the leaked images of him in prison. In my opinion, they were grooming the public to accept him as a perpetrator. The public at large. I'm not saying people like us that question the official narrative. In general, they were pushing that, and the mainstream media ran with it because they were grooming the public to, oh, look at this guy. Oh, there's a white Elantra. Oh, look, there he is in prison. So do I think it's possible he's not even in prison? Yes, I do think it is possible. Now, I understand people have different ways of framing cases. And I've talked about it with Bertie to the point you guys are probably sick of hearing me say it. It's how you frame it. I studied forensic psychology. I understand the dynamics of true crime cases, and I am interested in that stuff more from a profiling aspect. However, when you have all this coordination, in my opinion, you have to start zooming out. And I think that's what largely a lot of us have done. Bertie has done. A lot of people have done. And I have to give credit to DA from Devil's Advocates. He said early on that sometimes you don't ask questions if you already know the answer to it. Yep. So the interviews, right? Speaking to what Belamisha was saying about the interviews, why they didn't push them is, in my opinion, they had to check the boxes. Oh, we did the interviews, check. We did this, check. Right? They had to go through the motions because none of those interviews to me seemed like they were really pressing for information.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. So
well,
I don't know.
They weren't. They weren't, JJ. They weren't really trying to get information. And I'll go ahead and tell y'all a little bit about the PowerPoint. My idea of why the police did not try to investigate is I believe that during the time that the murders were happening, I believe the police were out there undercover on a drug surveillance. I believe that maybe the police may have even been called and that they refused to let the police come out there in regular police cars because it would have spooked their drug surveillance. They had the police go out there so many times, they probably felt like, oh, it's nothing but another party. And then once they found out that, hey, there was murders being committed and we stopped the regular police from going out there, they had to cover their asses. And that's just, what the PowerPoint is about, but it's more professional. And I don't say ass in it, but
oh man, I don't want to see it then, Bellamisha. If you're not dropping the F-bomb, I'm not interested.
But I do believe that, I don't believe that the police went in to frame Brian Kohlberger, but I believe that they had to do something. And for some reason, they got him in there. And I believe that something also has to do with Bethany having exculpatory evidence. And also, I just want to add this, that she got immunity. I want y'all to understand something about immunity. People do not get immunity for nothing. You have to commit a crime, and then the judge has to be motioned by both the district attorney and that attorney to give immunity to that person because they have something that they want to exchange with them. So for her to get immunity, what merited that immunity? What did she do? It was not sitting in that house because Dylan didn't get immunity for anything. So what did Bethany do that merited immunity? What did she do or know that was exculpatory towards Brian Kohlberger? Bethany is more involved in this than most people. I see people all the time say, oh, she was scared. She wasn't there, blah, blah. She was there, people. She was there. Dylan was there. They were there. They were there when the murders was going on. Okay. So stop thinking because they're cute little blondes and they were 19 that they didn't have anything to do with it. At 19, I had 27 assaults under my belt. I was a bad girl growing up. Okay. I was a very bad girl. When we was talking about serial killers earlier, I met McDuff in Waco in 1982. I was 12 years old. I was a runaway with some older girls, and he was trying to get us to go to a hotel with him. I did not know he was a serial killer at the time. It took me another 20 years before I saw him on TV, and I said to myself, that's that weirdo that had us out there. There was like on the sides of the highways in Waco off of I-35 back then, they were doing work and they had like gravel and stuff on the side of the highway, and people would roll in, buy weed and whatever. This was in 1982, okay, people? And I was out there because I was a runaway. I was a runaway from the time I was 12 until I was old enough to go and live with my real father in Austin. And so we met him, and he literally kept telling me and my two friends, we were two girls. One's name was Dina. She was 17. She was the driver. There was another girl. She was 14. Me and her were friends from school. She ran away with me, and we met Dina, and that's how we were all together in the car. And he got us to pull over. He had some weird guy with him, and he was like, hey, come back to the hotel. I've got plenty of weed, blah, blah, blah. I've got stuff to drink. And we was like, oh, we've got whiskey because, hey, it's Texas. Everybody has whiskey. And so literally 20 years later, I'm watching a documentary and I say to myself, oh my God, that's the same man. And he killed people in Waco. Okay. He is y'all gotta look him up. I can't think of his first name right now because I've been drinking this damn Bellini, but his last name is McDuff. And he killed a woman he kidnapped and killed a woman more than one, but one he killed from a convenience store. One was from the college where he worked. And if we had been dumb and left to go wherever with him, we might have been killed. But first of all, we were real young and he was older and he wasn't attractive. And we were both thinking, oh, he's a pervert. And that's what we were trying to get away from, was perverts. So we did not go with him. And, you know, he followed us for a little bit, but we went on to Austin from Waco. And I would have never known that he was a serial killer had I not been watching that. And I watched it and I thought to myself, you know, I missed that bullet. I've missed a lot of them in my life, but you know, it is what it is.
I want to tell a really quick story, because Bellamisha, man, you need to have your own channel, man. I don't know if you do or not, but you're a force to be reckoned with.
I have a channel, but I haven't done nothing with it.
Well, you got to do something with it.
I have an idea of doing like cooking and talking about crime shows. And I've already like named it Cooking and Crime, but I'm a procrastinator. Plus I'm about to graduate in January with my MBA. And so I'm trying to get that out of the way. And then I had that almost 2 months off. And so I've changed it around. At one point I had some followers and I told them, unfollow me. I'm not worthy. I mean, I went through it, but I got myself together and I'm really thinking about doing it. I'm fixing to start a business that opens October the 1st. It's called Wicked Wishes. And because first of all, I don't know if any of y'all know, or some of y'all may know, I'm a witch. Yeah. I'm not a TV witch. I'm a witch. I've been a hereditary, eclectic, solitary witch for most of my life. I come from a family of witches. So I'm opening up a new shop called Wicked Wishes, and I'm going to be selling witch boxes with witchy items for other witches, spell bottles, candles, you name it. I'm going to do tarot readings. You got it. I'm going to have it on my my Spotify. Well, not Spotify. What is it called? Shopify or something like that. Yeah, I gotta not drink Bellinis like I was.
Follow everybody, support Bellamisha and support Shawley. But I just wanted to share how I even got into so-called true crime stuff. Years ago, it's probably 97 or so, 98. I got a job. I was living in California. I got a job doing event marketing where you go all over the country doing big events at colleges and stuff like that. And at one point, I had to go to New Jersey, pick up a truck and drive it to Arizona, to Tucson, and then work there for a month. And then at the end, drive that truck back across the country. And this is back when you had like cassette players in vehicles, right? And so I had I was driving a diesel truck. So you'd had to go to truck stops, right? Because not all of them would fit a big box truck. And at these truck stops, I forget the name of the company that had these truck stops. You could rent audiobooks on cassette. And then you would look at the map and they would show you along your route where you could return it. So you could listen and then get to wherever you were, and the next place you could return it. And I rented Journey into Darkness by John Douglas, who was the guy who started the profiling division of the FBI.
Yeah.
This was 90, I guess it was 97. It was 98. It was 98. It was like October of 98. And so here I am by myself driving a truck cross country, and I would have to get to my locations pretty fast. I'd be pushing the limits. I'm driving 16-hour days. And I started with that and then blew through it because you're driving for many, many hours, right? It doesn't take long to get through an audiobook. And I started, this is before I went back to get my degree in psychology and decided to pursue that. And then I got his follow-up books on that. It was Journey into Darkness. I forget what the second part of that was. Anyway, long story short, you're alone driving many hours, you can really get into the atmosphere of a audiobook.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend, if anybody has not listened to that audiobook or read the book, his first book, Journey into Darkness. That is what got me interested in forensic psychology and psychology in general, and being more interested in profiling. And I just continued on from there. And that's what prompted me to study forensic psychology and abnormal psychology and conflict and violence, different classes that are related to that. And
Yeah.
that was really how it all started for me. And it was always based on the profiling / forensic psychology angle, which is how I always looked at all of these profiler type or these true crime cases. It was from the profiling lens. And most of the, I consumed countless books after that about the topic. And that's how I really got into even following true crime at all, was through that. And then when I studied psychology, I ended up deciding that I wanted to pursue clinical psychology. So I shifted a little bit, and I was going more to becoming a psychotherapist. And I did actually go to graduate school to become a licensed professional counselor. And it was right at the time that COVID hit. So I went back years later to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling to take that angle, so I can relate to being older and going to graduate school. But COVID hit and changed everything. I was in the program, and my work changed our work schedule as a result of COVID. So I could no longer continue with that program. Anyway, not to bore everybody, but that's sort of like
it's really interesting, actually.
That's the
Do you work
seeds.
in that now?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't work in the psychology field, because I did not finish graduate school. It was after COVID, with all the economic uncertainty. Graduate school, as you know, Belamish, is very expensive.
Very.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Especially the program I was in was a 60 credit master's program, which is typically they're anywhere from 42, roughly 40, 42, around there. And the program, because it was a licensing track program, was 60 credits. And so that's a lot of money. And when after COVID, I was paranoid, like, are we going to have a global financial collapse? And then I'm going to have even more debt to worry about. And so I decided,
worried about that now.
Yeah. Well, look at what's happened in the world since then.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm worried about that all the time.
Yeah, and I can relate. So that's why it's kind of part of the reason why I brought that up. It's just to sort of give at least a little bit of background on how I even became interested in any of this stuff.
Do you know the thing that really interests me is the community and the way that different people from different areas can come together for a shared goal. And hearing about how you got involved in psychology, because obviously I've got a psychology background myself, is really interesting. And weirdly, my interest in true crime and psychology began at an extremely young age. Obviously, you guys are in America, so you probably don't know, but I urge you to look him up. There was a guy called Dennis Nilsen, and he was a serial killer in the early 80s, and he lived the street next to me in the early 80s in London. And he was a gay man who killed gay men. And it was a big high profile thing. Growing up, you hear about the boogeyman, but the boogeyman's going to get you if you don't eat your greens, that kind of thing. For us, it was, if you don't do this, Dennis will get you. And it was one of those things where even as a small child growing up, knowing that this was happening or had happened, one street away from me, I started thinking, what drives someone to that? What makes someone, go to that depravity of human soul. And that's how I first got into it, because I started looking into, what happens in the human mind to force you into that situation. And obviously that's just stayed with me my whole life. As soon as I was old enough to, I started looking into it more, started studying more. And I went into all the same, forensic psychology, clinical psychology, all of it. I learned about body language. I learned about, literary patterns. I learned about, physical speech patterns and all of that, to try and work out what is it about the human mind that warps into that. And it is really, really interesting. And as I say, if you don't know about him, I urge you to look up Dennis Nilsson, because that's my childhood, basically.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to look him up.
yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
you
of the forensic stuff was heavily influenced by English investigators.
Yeah.
That the intelligence, I mean, a lot of the intelligence that the way the US intelligence agencies were structured were influenced by MI6, right? When the
Yeah.
OSS, which was the Office of Strategic Services during World War II, they were basically learning from the British intelligence. I don't know if it was called MI6 back then, but it was British intelligence. If you watch the movie, the Good Shepherd with Robert De Niro and Matt
Yep.
Damon, that movie, in case anybody doesn't know, is about Skull and Bones in Yale, and how the OSS and this was the origins of the CIA, and it grew out of the Office of Strategic Services, which was essentially learning from British intelligence.
Yeah.
So British intelligence. So the point that I'm getting at is Britain's a much older country, and we had relationships with other countries. So our intelligence, our investigative tactics, how our law enforcement, a lot of that came from these other countries.
Yeah.
So I know you know that, Charlie, but there's a big background that, I mean, what is it? Scotland Yard?
Yeah.
Like,
I grew up not far from Scotland Yard, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but we've had some really high profile killers in England as well. Like, people don't, sort of, not yourselves obviously, but quite a lot of people write us off. And we had Jack the Ripper, one of the most notorious killers to ever exist.
Yeah.
And we have such a strong history of very, very dark things in this country that people just don't know about.
I know about it.
Yeah, good.
I went deep into Jack the Ripper stuff.
Me too.
My question's always been nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Are serial killers made, or are they born that way?
I think it can be different aspects. You can have somebody that has a really troubled childhood that doesn't grow up to do these things, and then you can have somebody else that has a really, really nurturing childhood, but there's something neurologically that doesn't fire the same, and that causes a problem. And you can have the reverse as well. You can have somebody who has a neurological issue and they don't get the nurture in early years, and those two things together cause this issue. There's lots of different
and
ways.
just a quick thing about that, on one of my streams, I have right sitting next to me the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. That's for psychiatric disorders. That's what they actually use to diagnose psychological disorders. And I did an episode about that, sociopathy and psychopathy. And it's a very mysterious thing, because those, like, psychopath is really more of like a criminology kind of term.
Yeah.
And it's the clinical definition of what typically serial killers are considered to be is antisocial personality disorder. But they believe, this is in the data, that psychopaths are in some cases considered to be a genetic component. So they're born with it. And that's why serial killers often show signs at a young age. Sociopaths, oftentimes they say it's socially influenced, so environmentally influenced, and that a lot of serial killers,
Either or.
right, it can be either or. So a sociopath can be violent, but they can also be a white collar criminal.
Yeah.
So
Right.
and same with a psychopath. A psychopath isn't necessarily violent, but based on data, it's typically, the data says it's about 2 times more likely to be violent if the person is a psychopath. So serial killers, generally speaking, would be, from a criminology perspective, would be considered psychopaths. So antisocial personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you that when I was in school learning about this stuff, they would correct you if you didn't use the proper psychological term. They would say, no, that's a media term. Like using these terms, that's what the media says, when they present this information. But I actually did papers for abnormal psychology. I think was my final paper, was the Boston Strangler case.
Oh, wow.
And so all the serial killer books, and not all of them, but a lot of them, I've consumed those books, those audiobooks, and I was deep into that stuff for a long time. And Shawley, I think that humans that tend to be curious types want to understand the mind.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I would argue that a lot of us have that nature within us to want to understand these
100%.
aspects. We dig deeper than most. I'm not excluding anybody. I'm just saying people that like to analyze things and dig into things. Not everybody is like that.
No.
And I can tell you that from the people I've been exposed to through this community have been the types, in my opinion, that they're truth seekers. They want to dig, they want to analyze, they want to understand things. And so I think that is, and I wanted to, just because people are asking Belamisha about this, I am, contrary to what some people might think, a very spiritual person. And I believe that there's more to everything than just what we can see in front of us. And so I've been my whole life, I don't talk about this a lot, literally my entire life, a very highly intuitive person. I always picked up on things. I always was very sensitive to the vibe of people and the people around me. And I believe there's a lot more to this universe than the things that can be studied necessarily. So I do believe in, I dug into reincarnation. I dug into a lot of these sort of spiritual types of things.
Yeah, same.
And explored, different ideas, different Buddhism, different philosophies. I've been like that virtually my entire life. So I can identify with other people that, for lack of a better term, might be more attuned.
Other mother, JJ.
Yeah, well, I think people tell me a lot that they can talk to me and they like that I'm open to different things, but that's literally how I am. I have no control over it. And that's why certain types, that's why Birdie and I just randomly, by meeting totally coincidentally, just organically clicked with each other. And guys, offline, I've had hours long discussions with Birdie about things. So to my point, I'm going to give the flowers to the people in the community and everybody that's a part of this, through Birdie's channel, through the Devil's Advocates, through the Custody Queens, and the people that I've come into contact through my channel. I appreciate those aspects of things. And so while I am very scientific, I'm also very spiritual. So I appreciate people that are not afraid to dig into these things that maybe we can't see and hard, material things in front of us, because I think there's a lot more to the world than that. And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but I just wanted to put that out there because people were asking Bella Misha, and
the question. If you see me turn away, it's because I'm looking at my big monitor over here, and I'm seeing people ask me questions.
no, and that's why I wanted to address that.
And if you don't mind, I can answer like the lady that's up here now. What's her name?
Before you do, I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick, get my rooster off the roof, and get another drink, another seltzer, and fill up my wine a little bit more, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay, so best of me, you asked me, how do you know if you're a witch and can you become one? First and foremost, anyone can become a witch if they truly believe that there is more than what we are being told. Like JJ was talking about, he educated himself through different religions. I did the same thing. I was Muslim. I'm not a Muslim, but I was Muslim because I wanted to study the Muslim religion. I'm Italian. So, Italians are born into the Catholic Church. My father does not in any way believe that there is any other way to go to heaven than go through the Virgin Mary and the Catholic Church. My mother was a witch. My grandmother was a witch. But they went to the Catholic Church because back then they had to keep it quiet. Because, nobody was going to do anything to them, but they would have been ostracized by the Italian community that we lived in Texas. My father's actually from New York, and he came to Texas and met my mother, and hence me. But you can be a witch that is born a witch. I was born a witch, and my mother and my grandmother, they would bring it out. They would educate me. And when I was young, I really didn't know what I was doing. That's why I say anyone with young children, you can take your kids to church, you can take them wherever, but they really don't know what they're doing until they become cognate of the world.
Yeah, agreed.
When I become when I become cognate of the world is when I started questioning things. I believe, this is how I believe. I believe that every religion is important and it means something. And I believe that God shows himself to every person the way he knows he'll be received. Muslims see Allah. Buddhism people see Buddha. Christians see Jesus, and it goes on. Catholics go through the Mother Mary. God shows himself how he will be seen. I'm a witch, and so I believe in the God and the goddess. I believe that there is a dual God and goddess, and my patron goddess is the goddess Hecate. And I have a beautiful altar where I lay gifts to her. I cast spells. I make spell bottles. I read tarots. I read bones. I read stones. Just a beautiful way of connecting with the earth.
I'm gonna have to send you a picture, Belamisha. I'm going to be making a Gaia statue with a crystal belly very soon, so I'm going to send you pictures of that.
Well, I don't know if y'all be able to see it or not because my lights are down, but this is my altar.
Oh, lovely.
This is my altar, and this is where I go to, and there's a statue there of the goddess Hecate, and then other different things that are pertinent to the altar. So best of me If you feel like you have some witch in you, you probably do. And the best way I would say is to start reading. Read. Read everything there is about witchery, about witchcraft, about everything. Being a witch doesn't mean that you're Wiccan. It doesn't mean that you're in any sort of religion at all. I myself do not connect myself to, I don't limit myself. Let me put it that way. I don't limit myself to a religion. I believe that earth magic is important, and that's what I connect myself to. But I don't disconnect myself from God, because there is higher powers. I just know who I am as a person and as a witch. I know what I like to do to make myself feel relative to the earth. And it does not have anything to do. First of all, y'all, I was a solitary witch for 35 years before. And that means that I did not belong to a coven. And I still don't belong to a coven, but I'm friendly with some covens now. But before, I kept myself separate from covens. All of my witchcraft was done solitary. All of my education, I educated myself by reading, by experimenting, and by listening to my elders, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother while she was still alive. And so that's how I learned. So if that's what you want to do, my suggestion is to pick up some books. You can get them on Amazon, anywhere really, about witchcraft, beginning witchcraft, being a new witch, and read and see if it touches you in your spirit. Because if it touches you in your spirit, then baby, you're a witch. And another lady asked me, I think it's the one that's on there now. Well, someone asked me a while ago, what am I going to use to sell my product? Shopify. I'm a little bit soberer now because I've had something to drink besides the Bellini, JJ. You did it a while ago when you said drink the Bellini. I just drank the Bellini.
Do it.
Shopify, and I'm also going to be doing it off of my channel. Yes, I'm going to be doing it off my channel, Cooking and Crime. Shali, I think are you still a follower, or did you listen to me when
subscribed? Yeah, definitely.
You are? When I told everybody, remember when I told everybody, please don't follow me?
Yeah, I still did.
So, yeah, I was going through it. But I'm going to be doing it off of Shopify. And there's another venue that my wife has found. I don't know what it is. She told me, but I didn't write it down. I haven't been paying attention. I'm supposed to be doing my website for it's going to be, because my wife owns Jasper Moonlight Candles LLC. She makes beautiful candles for the witch community, and she's been shipping them since 2020 when everything broke loose and we were making extra money with that, and I had my food truck, and we were doing great things. So it's going to be Wicked Wishes by Jasper Moonlight Candles LLC, because I'm going to be a subsidiary of her candles, and her candles are going to be a part of my lineup of stuff that I'll be selling, because she makes beautiful candles, beautiful witch candles, blessing candles, spell candles. I mean, she makes them at home right here by hand. They're absolutely wonderful. I don't want to turn JJ's show though into what Bella's going to be selling, but that's where y'all will be able to find me. Find me on Crime and Cooking and Crime, and I'll have some information about that. But for anyone that is like wondering if they are a witch, or if they could be a witch, or if you want to be a witch because you watched something and it did something to your head and made you think, that's me, then just my biggest thing is read. Just get you some books and read. And I mean, read everything you can voraciously, and you'll know by the time you're through reading if that's for you or not.
You know, I wanted to just say this, Bellamisha. and then I'm going to tell a quick story because we're getting pretty late here, and I wanted to give a little spiritual story since we've been going in that direction a little bit. First of all, please put a good spell on me. You know, give me the positive mojo, you know, like because I could use it, and I think everybody could. So put the vibes out for everybody. But since you've been talking about this, I see the comments. I watch what everybody's saying, potty stirring shit as usual. But I want to tell you guys,
I can't really see it. I have to look over at my big screen. I'll see it afterwards. And if anybody was being meanies, hey, that's
no,
them. Y'all
they
just
weren't
scared.
being meanies. They weren't being
Oh,
meanies.
okay.
No.
I'm just paying attention to like the direction of the chat, and I wanted to tell a little story because I know it's getting late. I wanted to say thank you to everybody, by the way. And Bellamy, you should get your channel going and get your e-store going. Years ago, probably, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago, you guys know the musician Ben Harper. Are you familiar with Ben Harper? He's kind of a like soulful, bluesy kind of singer, songwriter, rock, kind of very interesting, eclectic artist. He's been around for quite a while.
Give me a song.
Oh man, he's had a lot. I mean, he had like he's one of those artists who's really eclectic. So he's had songs like in different genres, some like acoustic, some more rock. He had a popular song that was oh man, I always have steal my kisses. I always have to steal my kisses from you. That was kind of like more of a poppy song.
There's
that was
burn one down as well. That's
burn one down because I'm gonna burn one down. He's kind of a mix of like blues, reggae, rock, folk. Very interesting guy. He's from California, from the Inland Empire, and I was into him. And years ago, it's about 25 years ago, maybe more at this point. I've lived in Colorado for a long time. And then you have Red Rocks. It's one of the world's most famous music venues. It's basically a concert venue built into the side of a mountain, and it's built into the Red Rocks and stuff. Look it up if you don't know what it is. It's arguably top 5 most famous music venues in the world. And Ben Harper was playing at Red Rocks, and I had not seen him live yet, but I had his first 2 albums. And I was in my bands that I was in, played some of his songs and things like that. So I go, and this is early on in his career. And he was coming up. He was on the come up at that point. And so he starts off the show. And by the way, this was September. Gorgeous night in Colorado. This is in the foothills of Denver. Full moon. I swear I'm not exaggerating the story for effect. This is the night. Red Rocks overlooks the Denver cityscape, but you're in like the foothills, so you could see the whole expanse of Denver. It's a full moon. It's beautiful weather, gorgeous weather, and it's a magical place. Anybody who's doesn't know anything about Red Rocks, look into it. But so he starts playing, and he doesn't talk to the crowd at all. He's just going through song. He's not engaging with the audience. So he plays like 5 or 6 songs without saying anything to the audience. And Ben Harper has some kind of spiritual type of songs. And he gets through all these songs, and then he stops and he says, people ask me about my religion all the time. They ask me about my spirituality because I have like spiritual songs. And he said, I don't know if there's a God. He goes, I don't know about death. Death might be amazing. He goes, one time we're hanging out with friends and we were playing Amazing Grace. And my friend's young daughter came over and said, I love that song. The last time I heard it was when I died.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like real soft spoken at this point. He goes, I like I said, man, I don't know about God. I don't know about death. If a God reaches out to me, I don't care if it's Catholic, Hindu, Muslim. I don't care where it's coming from. I'm reaching back. And then he said about death, death might be the most amazing thing in the world. It might be the scariest thing in the world. But all I know is I'm loving the fact that I'm alive right the fuck now. And the place, I mean, because he went from not saying a word, the place exploded. And literally the transformation of that concert was palpable from that point on. And that moment in that environment, something else happened, something beyond just that physical place. Just the people in that place. It was a bigger thing that you felt, and maybe it was the environment. Maybe people were smoking weed. Maybe they were doing mushrooms. Maybe they were doing acid. I don't know. But all I know is that I felt that moment, and I felt that spirituality in that moment. And the way he capitalized on that moment is one of the reasons why I love music so much, because music transcends the physical world. And if you haven't checked out Ben Harper, I bet you could find a video from that concert. It would have been.
I'll have to look that up because I do like Ben Harper.
Yeah, it would have been probably in like sometime between like 2000 and 2002, roughly.
It's incredible.
And it was, the way that he, and I'm sure I paraphrased what he said, but the way that he took that moment, which is what I fucking love about music, because there's such a spiritual component to it. He took that moment and he transformed it, and he did it organically. And he just the way he said it, I don't know about death, but I'm loving the fact that I'm alive right the fuck now. And the place just went crazy.
Yeah.
And it was pretty awesome, man. It was a moment of concerts that I probably would put that in my top 3 live music moments of my life. And I've seen a lot of live music. I've played a lot of live music. It was pretty awesome. And I think that ties in with the spiritual theme that we have going on. And E-Potty is, I see him making his comments. I see you, E-Potty. I see you, man. I see what you're saying. One of these days, I promise, maybe Shawley will be here, maybe not, who knows. People have asked me, sing us a song, whatever. I have no problem with doing that. It's got to be the right vibe. But,
Mallory said something amazing a minute ago. I can't see the comment now, unfortunately, but she said something amazing a minute ago about music. I don't know if she wants to say it again, or if you want to see if you can find it. There it is. Where words fail, music speaks. And it's so true. And I'll just quickly tell my own spiritual music story. My husband has always been a self-proclaimed atheist, and he's always been, very much, no, I don't, Mr. Redacted. He's always been very much, that there isn't any truth to it, and I've always been very spiritual. And I took him to a place in England called Glastonbury, and a lot of people know Glastonbury for the festival, which isn't actually in Glastonbury, but I digress. But Glastonbury itself is an incredibly spiritual place. It was a pilgrimage for a lot of druids back in the ancient times. And, every year I go for the May celebration, and you get up at 4 a.m. and you make a pilgrimage all the way through the same way that the druids would have done back in the day, all the way up to the top of the, it's called a tor. So it's like a massive hill with the ruins of, a druid temple at the top. And as you get to the top, dawn breaks. So the sun comes up underneath you. And you can see the mists of Avalon as they're called, because it is Avalon area. And it's just this really spiritual moment. And then you go back into the town, and there's this place called the Assembly Rooms, and we were all sat around, and it was, you know, nighttime, and there was a very rare moment where stars were aligning, which is something that doesn't happen. You know, it happens like once every 20 years or something like that. And we were all sat in the room at the same time with our drums. And nobody said a word. Nobody spoke a single word. And all of a sudden, we just all, every single one of us, started beating our drum in the exact same beat, just a very slow, rhythmic beat. And it was getting louder and faster and stuff like that. And it was just the weirdest but most wonderful moment where we all sort of came together, and there was no words, there was no need for words. And it was like a link, a connection between all of us. And that's what your story reminded me of, JJ. And when we then looked at the exact moment that these stars had lined up, it was the same time that we all did our, you know, our crescendo on our drums, and the noise ended.
Yeah, that's Glastonbury's has that famous festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which isn't actually in Glastonbury, which is really funny. It's in a place called Pilton, which is just outside of Glastonbury. But Glastonbury itself, you should look up, not the festival, but look up Glastonbury as a place. It's an incredibly spiritual place. There's natural springs that run through the hills, and the water is like nothing you've ever tasted in your life.
Well,
It's a very
I've
spiritual place.
heard a lot about it, and I've been fortunate because I've lived in different parts of the United States, and I've gotten to travel around the country and stuff. I've gotten to go to some really amazing places that I never even imagined existed when I was growing up in New Jersey. You know, like the Garden of the Gods in Colorado, and there's Goblin Valley in Utah, and Moab in Utah. The first time I went to Moab, Utah, which was a big mountain biking place. It's in the desert. I just felt it's just weird. It's hard to explain. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain it to you. There's a vibe. I pick up on that stuff. I always have my whole life. And I felt it. I felt just something drew me back to that place. And I would go by myself, you know, and I'm 4 hours away from there. And I would just sometimes just get in my car if I had a few days off and drive there and camp out and always meet people. And it was just magical places have something about them.
Definitely.
And so I've, you know, been playing music for a long time, and I've been very lucky. I was no big rock star or anything, but I've gotten to do cool stuff with music, and I've played at some really cool places that most people would never know about. And there's something more to it. That's why I preach on this channel, outside of discussing true crime, that I believe in a collective consciousness. I believe there's more to this physical world. And I did dive into quantum physics and quantum mechanics and those things. There is more to it. We just can't measure it, right? You can't dismiss things just because you can't measure them. And so I talk about it all the time. The reason why I started this channel largely is because I want to get people together, because I believe that ideas spread. They get into the collective consciousness. People say, well, JJ, all this corruption in the world, what do we do about it? And I always say, what do I always say? Awareness is the first step. Awakening. Tipping points. Tipping points spread fast. And so if you put it out to the universe, everybody doing their part and not just sitting back, changing the way you think spreads, in my opinion. That's what I really feel. All this divisive bullshit that we see with a mainstream media and a lot of these bigger content creators, they thrive off of outrage and divisiveness. I don't do that. I'm against that. And I don't think people should follow those types of people. Yes, some of them are very good at what they do. Some of them are very compelling, and I get it. But get people together. The rest of the matrix is trying to divide us, and by people coming together, sharing ideas, putting ideas out to the universe, to me, in my opinion, and I'm very confident in this, it multiplies exponentially.
Yeah,
And
there's no quantifying the power that you can get from that, you know.
yeah, and that's why I will occasionally dip into that type of stuff, the more spiritual stuff.
Well, for you to bless my channel when I get it up and going with some of your music.
Well, we're gonna talk a lot more, Bellamisha. You know, I've been familiar with you for a while because I've followed Birdie for quite a while before I ever met him. So the fact that he and I ended up meeting and becoming acquainted, and that I've been going on his show is complete, in my opinion. Again, not to get all woo woo, but I think it was
Destiny
that we connected. I do believe in that type of stuff. And I think, and I've talked with Birdie, and the reason why I mentioned Birdie is because I know all you guys know Birdie, obviously. Yeah. So when I make references to Birdie, it's because you all are familiar with Birdie and the Hive. And so it's something we can all, you understand what I'm talking about. So
yeah, I mean, Bellamisha and I have done a round table together as well, so we're quite familiar with one another.
I was familiar with both of you guys, Shawley and Bellamisha, for a while. I listened and I paid attention and I liked Birdie's content. I never called in. I don't even think I ever commented. And then by total random coincidences, I ended up on the Devil's Advocate show and then meeting Birdie through that. It all literally happened by accident. And so, here we are, and we've covered a lot of ground tonight, as we often do on these late night streams. And so
or early morning
I wanted to, because I know it's really late for some of you guys. It's not that, I mean, I'm a night owl by nature, but
what did you say, Bella? Sorry.
I think JJ and I are on the same time zone. Are you Central?
No, I'm the Mountain Time.
Okay, because I'm in Oklahoma. I'm right below you, but I'm
an
in
hour
Central.
Earlier than you. So it's
okay.
after midnight for you.
Yeah, it's 12:14.
Yeah,
but I'm a night owl.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a night owl.
Look, guys,
6:14 a.m.
I've done 5-hour streams, guys. I've done 5-hour late night streams. I'm the last guy to leave the party, so I'll stay in it. If people want to keep talking.
Same.
So don't.
I just want everybody that has said something, to me. If I didn't acknowledge you, I just want y'all to know that I'm on my phone, but I have this big screen. I keep looking over, but I acknowledge everything that everybody has said, and I wish I could answer you all, but I can't right now. But eventually, one day I will. I love all of y'all. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say I am just going to answer one comment because this is one of the first comments I've actually seen. You just made me look at my screen. E-potty, I don't really sleep. To be honest with you, it's 6:15 a.m. here, and I've been up since 6:15 yesterday. And
Shawley,
I wish I could go across the pond.
Well, you're like Shawley's like Captain 1-1. He's like a vampire. That guy works. He's a captain in NYPD, and he works like crazy hours. Yet that guy will pop in the stream sometimes, and he'll be that guy, and he gets a lot done. So he's one of those
It's funny because
people.
one messaged me earlier. Actually, we were talking about the new documents, and he messaged me. But my husband calls me a vampire. Obviously, I'm not. But he says I'm very pale skinned. I hardly sleep. I burn very easily in the sun. All of these things, and it's just like,
Well,
Sorry.
that's what we do here. We do late night streams, and like I promise that one day, I'll play some songs, and if we're
Yeah.
vibing and we're hanging out and tipping a few, I'm not shy. I play music regularly and stuff like that, and
we
so
can get Angel up
that
singing as well.
yeah, and I have no problems whatsoever performing in front of people. I just don't like putting myself on people. The vibe's got to be right, it's
Yeah.
like that's why people ask me, and I'm like, it's not that I'm shy about doing that. It's just the vibe's got to be right. And so, we'll get to it one day. I promise. We'll get to it. And I'm down for it. If we're all into it and we want to chill and sip on our what is that stuff called, Bellamisha?
Bellinis, peach
Bellini.
Bellini.
Peach
They are
Bellini, and I'm sipping on a
fabulous.
wine.
My iced coffee.
And Shawley's drinking her iced coffee, and
I did listen to your CD, Angel Heart. Yes, very, very good. I enjoyed it immensely.
So yeah, we got.
You have a CD?
Me?
No, she does.
Yes.
Angel Heart does. Yeah.
Oh, Angel Heart. Hi, sweetie. I love her. I do. She is a doll.
She's got a really, really lovely voice as well. I encourage everybody to go listen to it.
Yeah, no, and then it's kind of interesting. There's been a lot of musicians in the true crime space that I've encountered, like Phoenix Rising, and many. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I think we'll get to it. I promise. One night we'll be chilling. I'll bust out the acoustic guitar. We'll sing some songs. You guys can tell me the types of genres you like. I play pretty broad variety of music and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure, man. We'll get into it.
I love everything. I love country. I love R&B. I love classical. I love Celtic music because it brings out my really witchy feeling. It really does. I just love everything. I've never just said, I used to go back in the day. They had these concerts in Texas, JJ, called the Texas Jam. And it was huge concert, and people would come. It was rock concerts. It was like Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin, people like that. But it'd be a lot of different people. Jefferson Starship, they would come and they would just jam out, and it was like a mini Woodstock, but more updated. Back then, it was in the 70s and the 80s. I started going as a kid with my older aunts. They would take me because I'd be pushed off on them. And I've just loved everything. Country and Western music, love it. I'm fangirling on Ella Langley right now. So
she's
bad.
Badass.
Yeah,
I love her. Love R&B. Like, there is so many good R&B groups, but I like the old ones, like the Isley Brothers. Oh my God, love them. I just have like a eclectic music that I just listen to. Like my playlist has got over 3,000, and none of them are the same. Like, you might be listening to some country music, and then bam, jazz, and then bam, R&B, rap, everything. I love it all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, people ask me what type of music I play, and I say eclectic, because I play anything from some outlaw country to some blues to some classic rock to some grunge music like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, to Jackson Brown, to the Rolling Stones, to you name it. I don't do a ton of like contemporary pop-ish stuff, just because that's not what I came up on. But
absolutely,
I've been to Austin and I almost moved to Austin, Texas. You know, I was there
All
2 years
right.
ago, and I was in Austin like probably within the last 2 years, and I was there many years ago when I was telling you guys about me traveling around the country for that job, driving a truck. One of my stops was it was on the way, it was Austin, Texas, and I went to Antone's and I saw some great music. And so music has been a very big part of my life for a very long time. And people think I'm younger than I am. So oftentimes they ask me how old I am and they're surprised. You know, I've been around. I'm into a lot of older music, and I grew up with older music. And so Allman Brothers, you know, Jackson Brown, a lot of the old stuff, a lot of the old blues stuff, a lot of the old school,
Finger.
you know, you name it, Delta Blues,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago Blues, Muddy Waters, BB King, Buddy
Oh,
Guy,
yes.
all that stuff. I was heavy into that stuff when I was younger. And so music is it's just been for a very long time a very big part of my life.
Yeah,
And
same
and
here.
I would argue honestly, it saved my life at one point. You know, when I was a kid, it was sports. And then when I got a little bit older, I would honestly say that I don't know what I would have ended up doing or what would have happened with me if I didn't get into music.
Yeah,
So
same here. And again, just like yourself, everybody assumes that I'm younger than I am. You know, they see my profile picture and they hear my voice and they think I'm a lot younger than I am as well. And yeah, that's another reason that my husband calls me a vampire, because he says I don't age. I
yeah.
look the same as I did 15 years ago before I had my son.
You
But
know, and people ask me, Charlie, like, how come you look so young for your age? I mean, that's what people have told me. I don't think about it, but I got out of the rat race. I moved to the mountains and I consciously changed the type of life that I was living. And so I try to balance my life out. And
Yeah.
that in my it's my I don't know if it was something I did really consciously, but I felt it. I needed to do that because I was never meant for the rat race. I did it.
No.
I worked outside New York City for years in a very, you know, pretty stressful environment. That's a stressful area. And moving out west, I'll say, people are saying, "How old are you, JJ?" I'll put it to you this way: I was born in the '60s. So, however you want to
Interpret that.
figure that out and where you think I fall.
I will never
You
give
were
my year of
born
birth.
in the 60s.
Yeah, I was born in the '60s.
You don't look like you was born in the 60s.
And honestly, I think it's just because of I made choices with how I lived my life. You know, if I would have stayed working in business and real estate and things like that, I probably would have looked, you know, older than I look. And that's honestly why I think I might look to some people younger than I am.
You
It's
just got to breathe. A
Exactly.
person gets so just hung up on the rat race and what the next person has and what you have to accomplish by a certain date, and you forget to just stop and breathe.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I have a daughter that's 40, and when we go out together, people will be like, "Oh, is this your little sister?" I'll be like, "No, it's my daughter." And they'll be like, "What?" And we threw her a party. She was turning 40. And a lot of my friends was like, "Is that your stepdaughter?" And I'm like, no, that's my daughter." Where would I get a stepdaughter at? I'm gay. I have a wife. She has no children. And so, like, literally. But, you know, I don't mind telling y'all I'll be 56 in December. And do I feel 56? In my mind, I don't. In my mind, I still feel like I did when I was 15, 16, like not immature, but like that youthful exuberance. Like if I find something that really touches me in my spirit, I feel that youthful exuberance. But my knees, they feel every bit of 56.
Look,
I,
I'm
I
with you, Bellamisha. Listen, man. People, they say, "Dude, you haven't aged." I'm like, "Oh yes, I have." Trust me, I got all the aches and pains and the old injuries that creeped up on me as time went on, and I've had health issues, like nothing super serious, but I've dealt with my fair share of stuff, and I think that I was always somebody that there are actually interesting books written about this type of stuff, like different types of people that thrive in different types of environments and don't do well in other types of environments. And in my experience, because I've been around musicians for decades, spiritual people and musicians, in my opinion, have a spiritual component to them.
Mhm.
They need to be able to your point, Bellamy, should spiritually breathe. They need to be right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You've got to be able to breathe. Like
Yeah.
let your spirit just breathe. Like, you know, I can't imagine living my life any way different than I did. Like at 20, I was in Ocho Rios, Jamaica for 4 years as an apprentice at the Sandals Resort because I was going to cooking school. That's the most beautiful place I ever lived. But I lost interest after a while and I came back to the States. I've traveled so many places, but I have not been across the pond, Shawley.
Neither
I
have
have
I.
not. And I
Neither
would
have I.
love, you've never been to America?
I've never been to America. I've got family in America, but I've never actually been there. But
I
if you
would
ever want to
love
come to
to
the
go.
UK, you've always got somewhere to stay. Same for
I
you,
can't,
JJ.
I can't come to the UK because I'm a felon.
Ah, yes. I forgot
And
about that.
yes, I'm a felon, and so I can't come. And JJ's looking at me like, you're a felon?
I'm sure he knows your story if he's
Listen,
watching already.
I dodged some bullets in my life, Bellamisha, and I don't come from a very fluffy background. So I've been around a lot. I've been around all kinds of things. So that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like I know people, even people I'm close to, that have gotten into trouble. Everybody goes through things and we have our journeys and stuff. So I don't think anything about that stuff. I mean,
My
Frankly,
11-year-old daughter was
yeah.
attacked in 2004 by a pedophile and left to die. And I had to go to the hospital and see my child on a stretcher. And she wouldn't tell anyone what happened. She told me, and as they wheeled her off to have surgery, some people might think this is cold. I had lost my mind a little bit. I left the hospital and went to the man's house that she told me abducted her, and I shot him. And I received 8 years for that. He received 7 years for raping my child. They did find his DNA. But he was out of prison in 36 months because in Texas, you can be a sex offender and rape a child that's under 13, and you can take a sex offender course and say, I'm
Reformed.
healed.
Yeah.
I'm
Disgusting.
healed. He actually went on to reoffend with another girl a few years later while I was still in prison. I did all 8 years, day for day. I have went in front of the Texas Senate. I have belonged to RAIN, trying to get sex offender laws in Texas changed. And I have come to the conclusion that what I did was the best thing that I could do for my child. And I would do it again. I have no problems with saying I would do it again. What really adds injury to insult is after he was released and I was still sitting in prison, he sued me for wrongful injury, which, you know, legally, he was wrongfully injured. And he lives in a house that I paid for right now in Manor, Texas. And so that's what made me a felon. And I just don't have any regrets at all. That's why I can say that if something happened to one of my children, I would have no problem ending the person that did something to my child, because I'm a mother first and foremost. I could give a damn what anyone thinks, because no one carried those children but me. No one nursed those children but me. No one has loved those children through everything but me. And I'll be damned if somebody can just walk into their lives and hurt them and they don't have a protector, because I will always be their protector. I could be 95 years old. Honey, I'm going to roll up in my wheelchair.
Well, you need to write a book, Bellamisha.
Definitely.
Everybody tells me that. My wife tells me that probably about 12 times a year. I don't know why you haven't wrote a book yet. I'm not a writer. I don't
You can
feel
be,
like,
though. You can
Yeah.
be.
I don't feel like I could write a book that people would actually, I just don't feel like my book would be as important as some of the books that I have read. And I don't want to just put something out there for the sake of, oh, I'm just going to write this. Would I like to be able to write? If I was a writer, I would love to write a book, because I would start very early in my life and cover the whole thing. And it would probably be like The Young and the Restless. But I'm not a writer, JJ. I'm not.
Well, listen, let me just tell you guys something. When I was a kid, I had learning disabilities. I was like extremely hyperactive. I had speech problems. I was dyslexic. I was a nightmare. I wouldn't have graduated high school if I wasn't an athlete. I just scraped by. Well, I went to college to wrestle, and I wasn't interested in academics in grade school and high school and what have you. When I got to college, you had to take certain classes just to maintain your GPA to be on the wrestling team. And I took some writing classes and some literature classes and had to write about things. And, something happened, something changed in me. And professors and this was a big thing for someone like me. I was like one of the few kids in my grade school who had to go to the school psychologist. And that's, when you're a kid, that's embarrassing, right? Because you're gauging yourself against your classmates. And then I get to junior college, and all of a sudden I have to take certain classes. And teachers are pulling me aside and telling me, have you ever thought about being a writer? And no, of course I haven't. I barely made it through high school. And then I got really, really into reading, like for many, many years, like voraciously reading books, and started writing. And I never thought I could write, but when I did it, so it's like, I never thought I could write until I could. I never thought I could sing until I could. So
there you go, my ghostwriter right there.
Well, you know what? I think, the old saying, everybody has one good book in them. And Bellamisha, I think you have one good book in you. So
more than that, I feel. But, I'll put it this way to you, Bella. I don't know how many people are in the chat right now, but every single one of them is completely enthralled by what you're saying. If you put those words into book form, it would be exactly the same.
I am like literally just so blind, and I keep looking over to read, and I see, and I just want all of y'all to know I'm seeing your comments. I'm looking at JJ while he's talking, but I love y'all and I appreciate y'all's support, and it makes me feel good to see that some of y'all really understand. Karen, thank you for what you said a while ago. That thumbs up was for you, because I really appreciate what you said. That meant a lot to me. And I just want y'all to know something, that every person in this world that does something horrible or has something horrible done to them, that's not their identity. My identity is not a rape victim. my identity is not a inmate, because I went back to the prison after I was not an inmate, and I still stay in contact with people. I was locked up. Right now, I can tell you, I was locked up in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice from 2004 till 2012 with some of the mainstream people that you hear about, women that have committed crimes. I have been sleeping next to them in a dorm, okay, because they put me with people that had life sentences. I had 8 years, but I was an aggravated felon. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of them women that are in there deserve to be in there. I deserve to be in there because I committed a crime. Some of those women that are in there don't deserve to be in there. And they're still there to this day. And I send out all the good vibes to all of the people in there that I met that marked me some way or another in my mind. But when you meet people out there in the audience, everybody that's listening, when you meet people and maybe they're not the opportune person, maybe, you know, I've got tattoos all over my body. They didn't come from prison. I'm from Austin. We keep it weird.
Keep it
When
weird.
you meet, yes, when you meet someone and maybe they're not who you think they should be or what you think they should be, stop for a minute and just get to know that person, because you never know. That person might be someone that ends up being one of your very best friends for life, or maybe not. But don't ever judge a book by its cover, because
Absolutely.
if you do, the only person that you're cheating is yourself. I mean, you're not cheating the person that you've judged and you don't have nothing to do with, because I'm sure they'll go along with their life and meet other people. But you're cheating yourself, because you never know who you might meet and what impact they might have on your life. You know, I've met people that have really impacted my life. I've had people that have told me I've impacted their life. But I just want y'all to know something. Life is too short, too short to judge other people without knowing them. I
Agreed.
mean, you can look at me and you can say, oh, look, she's an old fat woman. She's a witch, been to prison. Good God. Or you can look at me and you can say, well, she's kind of diverse. You know, I'm a eclectic witch for a reason, because I practice all types of witchcraft at a time. Oh, and by the way, if the dogs start barking, it's because my wife's about to come in from work. But
I've missed that little face, I have to say.
I just wanted to say, I was looking a few things up because it's relevant to this. I'm going to get the answer, but I used to read a lot, but there's a couple of books. When you get done with school and you have maybe a little more time to get away from the academic books, there's a book some of you guys may know, Shantaram or Shantaram, however you pronounce it, Gregory David Roberts. If you go on Amazon, it's probably one of the highest rated books you'll ever see. But he went to prison, and he was from, I believe, Australia, New Zealand or Australia, and he escaped from prison and fled to Mumbai, India. It's an amazing book, and it's very spiritual and very interesting. There's another book that I couldn't find, can't remember the name of, that I read about a guy who was in prison, and he wrote, it was one of the most amazing books I've ever read, one of the most soulful books. And I promise, when I remember what it was, because I read it a long time ago, I'll post it, or I'll mention it on a stream in the future. The point is, Bellamisha, that, you know, people find their voice in different ways. And if you have a story to share, it again, back to what I was saying earlier, it goes out to the universe. It's bigger than the thing itself, the book, the artifact. So anyway, just my 2 cents. And so, you know, I just wanted to put that out there.
And it could well help someone. You
I
know, hearing your
appreciate both of
story
you.
could well help.
I mean, if there is any way that I could help a person, I would love to do that. I just, maybe it's something within me. I just don't feel that there is something in me that could literally help at this point in time in the world that we live in. Maybe there is, because I mean, there's sometimes little things that I see and they brighten me and they make me feel like, oh, there's still something worthwhile going on. I just feel that the world that we live in now is so full of debauchery and bullshit. This Idaho 4 case that we are all stuck on. It's bullshit. It's debauchery. These children, and I say children because they're way younger than me and their lives had just began, were murdered. And there's grown adult people who should be standing up for them that don't.
Yeah.
And so there's no justice. And I told Bertie this once, and I'm going to tell y'all, there's no justice in having someone in prison if the person that you have in prison is not the person who killed them.
Agreed.
Just having someone in prison to calm down the community, that's not justice. Justice is when the right person is found and they are put in prison and they have to stay there. That's justice. So for right now, the only thing that I can say for Xana and Ethan and Maddie and Kaylee is I hope that they are resting peacefully, that there is a heaven, and that in that heaven, it's like my father and my grandfather used to tell me. They would tell me, when you go to heaven, you don't think about the world anymore because it's gone to you. And I hope that my father and grandfather is right about at least that when they left this earth, they didn't have to think about anything else that had happened here, that went away from them, because otherwise it's just bullshit. And I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. I do that sometimes.
Well, I do too. So I can relate. I'm going to find the name of that book because it had a big impact on me. I will. I promise you guys, I'm going to find the name besides Shantaram. There's that other book, and it'll come back to me. It's at the back of my mind and I will think of it. But now it's getting late. I need to eat. I'm fading fast because I haven't eaten anything in a long time. But I wanted to say, Bellamisha, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Definitely.
And thank you for joining. Thanks for getting up on
Thank you
stage.
for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. And Shawley,
I really enjoyed it.
well, I think we all got something out of it. And Shawley, as always, thank you so much. And I thank you
Anytime.
for your support, everybody in the chat that joined in, people that supported my stream with the Custody Queens and Ron today. I'm a small channel. I'm trying to grow. I'm not at Birdie's level. I don't have that polish. I have a lot to learn still, and I want to thank everybody that has supported me and this channel sincerely, because what I want to do is build a community. And so I really appreciate everybody that has gotten on board and supported me and contributed ideas and thoughts and documents and helped research things. We've got big things coming up on this channel that are going to shift. And I really feel it because I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in it to build a community, to do something that carries on down the road as I want to expand the things that I can get into in writing and articles and things like that. I still have 2 Substack articles that I haven't had time to finish that are 90% finished. So the support that I get from everybody and just people that have, give me the big ups and said, we appreciate what you're doing. We like what you're doing with Birdie. All those things, I see that stuff. I pay attention to it. And so I want to thank everybody for that. And going forward, I hope you will all continue on this journey with me and the little community we have which is awesome. That how I became a part of it is totally random, but I have. And so here we are. And that's how I've gotten to know a lot of you people and everybody that's, you know, I listen to the other streams. I hear people's stories, their opinions, their theories. And I want to thank my handler, Philly Special, for helping me, for believing in what I'm trying to do and supporting me as well. So, because we could go on and on and on. Like like I said, I've done 5-hour streams, and I'm sure I'll do more of those in the future. But tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, we're gonna have Big Amish Media on. And we're gonna get into some similarities between the Idaho 4 case and the Charlie Kirk case.
Yeah.
You know, and by default the Tyler Robinson case. And I'm gonna let him take the spotlight, and we're gonna go off of each other, of course, like I try to do with everybody. So I hope you guys will join us for that. Again, it's 10 p.m. Eastern time. Big Amish Media. So with that, I want to say thank you, Shawley. Thank you, Bellamisha. Thank you to everybody. Karen Bell, you guys know who you are. Canny Mag. A lot of people are still here. E-Potty, Misha Miss. I know there were a lot of people in earlier. Foxy
And most
Rose.
importantly, JJ, thank you, because I know what it's like. You don't often get the thank you that you deserve. It's like I said to Birdie earlier, turn that GOAT award around and give it to yourself, because you've done amazing work. Because he gives everybody the GOAT award, he never gets it back. And, you know, thank you. Thank you for giving us this platform.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I listened to you on Birdie earlier, and that was dope that you gave Birdie the GOAT award. And so I thank everybody, because I do appreciate it. And so everybody, Painted Desert, Angel Heart, Live Laugh, Toaster Bath, Kiss Me Where I Pee, Pretty Much My Tits Redacted, everybody that, you know, Karen Bell, that we've all seen interacting in these chats and things like that, have been instrumental in me getting a little inspiration to keep doing what I'm doing. So I want to thank everybody, and I hope I see you guys tomorrow night. Shout out to Devil's Advocates, where I started, to the Custody Queens and Ron and Birdie Bombshells, and everybody from their communities that have supported me. Captain 1-1, the whole Devil's Advocates crew, and Lisa, Auten. I mean, I'm going to miss a lot of people, but I'm thankful for all of you guys, and we'll see you guys hopefully very soon. So with that, good night.
Good night, all.
Good morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Good night. Good morning. And we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.